This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Tuesday, the 6th day of February in the year 2024. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting, and here's what we're tracking tonight. As teachers across the country enter day 2 of their strike action today, which has been initiated by the Guyana Teachers Union, the government of Guyana through the Ministry of Education has decided to discontinue the deduction of the $700 per month fee from the salaries of teachers for the union. Over the years, while acting as an agent of the GTU, the government would deduct the union fees from salaries of teachers who are members of the union and pay that money over to the union for its representation of the teachers. But in a letter to the president of the Guyana Teachers Union, carrying today's date, the permanent secretary of the Education Ministry, Shanil Hussein Uttar, stated that the ongoing strike by teachers is illegal. And in wake of the strike action, the government has decided that with immediate effect, it will no longer provide a service to the GTU of deducting the union fees from the salaries of the teachers and paying that over to the union. The permanent secretary said the government's decision is based on the union's conduct in calling the strike action and getting teachers to go on strike. She explained that the government is clearly of the view that the strike action is unlawful and inimical to the welfare of students and teachers, adding that the union had already come to an agreement with the government on many of its demands. The permanent secretary also stated that the Education Ministry has received reports of the union issuing threats against teachers. The union has denied that claim. The permanent secretary also claimed that the strike action has become political, with an opposition MP being the chief architect of the strike. The General Secretary of the Guyana Teachers Union, Coretta MacDonald, is an opposition member of parliament. She has served as General Secretary of the Guyana Teachers Union for several years and has been in the forefront of strikes by teachers, even when the current opposition was in government. The Ministry of Education's permanent secretary highlighted a 2010 court case in which a judge stated that the government of Guyana was only acting as an agent in the collection of union fees from the salaries of public servants for the GPSU, and it is the responsibility of the union to collect those fees. The permanent secretary said the union should now make alternative arrangements now that the government has decided that it will no longer deduct those $700 fees on the union's behalf. More news coming up in just a moment.
My lord, I just love to shop in this store. My customers, them gonna love all these things. So many different things in one place. Household items, electronics, toys, stationery, confectionery, exercise equipment, shoes and clothes for men, women and children, school things, costume, jewelry, perfume, makeup. Oh, look the makeup!
Giftland Office Max, Guyana's favorite department store.
On Thursday, February 22nd, we're heading to the biggest wet fete of MASH, Splash-O-Mani 2024 at the Guyana National Stadium. Nuff Water, Pulse, Nuff Soca. The night before the holiday, Soca star Problem Child. Hola Tunji. Splash-O-Mani, the official wet fete of MASH 2024. Problem Child, Olatunji, and more to be added. Come, let's soak you down in water and soca. Early bird tickets $3,000. Brought to you by Hits and Jams Entertainment.
It's one of your biggest goals, getting your own home, where memories are made, where happiness lives. You may feel that home ownership or renovation is beyond your reach, but we at Republic want you to know that there's always a way. Ask us about our suite of mortgages. Let's help make your housing wishes come true. Or advise on how the equity in your existing home can finance other dreams and goals. Call or go online to learn more.
Bust the flavors. We're full of flavors. Bust the flavors, that me crave for. We're full of flavors. Tell your neighbors about the bust the flavors. Grab a bust the flavors. Yeah, thirst buster. Grab a buster. Bust the flavor, taste the savor. Bust the flavors. Bust the flavors.
While maintaining that the nationwide industrial action by teachers is illegal, the Minister of Education Priya Manik Chand and the Labour Minister Joe Hamilton are warning teachers that there will be consequences for their ongoing strike action.
The government is a government of law and order. The government will do what is required to be done to be able to make sure the system has order in it. We can't allow people to walk off from teaching. We can't allow people to stop teaching. We can't allow people to... we have children in these classrooms. They have to learn. They have to be taught. They're in exam classes. They have SBAs. We have children who are depending on these teachers. So there are rules about what you do and how you do it. And we are advised by the Ministry of Labour that this is not a lawful strike. And there are consequences when there's not a lawful strike. So yes, the intention is, which we said before, that if persons break rules, there will be penalties for those rules.
The minister made those comments last evening alongside the Labour Minister during a live television program broadcast on the state-owned National Communications Network. In a separate statement last evening, the Ministry of Education said it has accepted the opinion of the Ministry of Labour that it is illegal to pay teachers who do not report for duty without a legitimate reason. While the Guyana Teachers Union has reported that thousands of teachers from across the country have started strike action, the Education Minister said based on her statistical analysis, most teachers turned out for work on Monday. Minister Manik Chand also said the strike comes at a time when the Education Ministry and the union remain locked in discussions on developments on the education sector. She said while the government has no obligation to agree to the multi-year agreement proposed by the GTU, it has already addressed 25 of the 41 issues proposed by the union for the betterment of teachers.
We have met 25 of those demands. And 25 of their demands, and we have granted and done 28 other things, taken 28 other actions, some personal, some professional, and I could go through those if you want, that are now inuring to the benefit of teachers. The ones that we didn't do, 2 are for GTU executives. They want duty freeze for themselves, not the teachers, for themselves, and 2 are unlawful, and we're talking about the rest.
According to Manik Chand, just last Wednesday, education officials and the teachers' union sat at the negotiating table to hammer out the remaining issues. However, in an earlier interview with News Source, the GTU president Mark Light said the meeting dealt with routine issues and was not any negotiation on the multi-year agreement, which focuses largely on salaries and non-salary benefits for teachers. The GTU wants teachers to receive a 25% salary increase for 2019 and a 20% increase on every other year from 2020 to 2023. The Education Minister is, however, claiming that since 2020, teachers have seen their salaries increase by more than 20% over the past few years.
From 2020 to now, we have raised salaries for teachers by over 20%, right? Every year. And then the president took some very innovative action. All graduate teachers so there's the salary scale, the way it's done. You have low, middle, high. Most of the graduate teachers were on the lower side. He said all of them will automatically move to the high scale of that salary scale. He says we had this problem where teachers were getting the wrong salary and so on. He said, no, we'll fix all of that from 2020 to now. So people were backdated. Last year, October, we fixed it. It took $700 million to fix that.
It was added that the Education Ministry is also providing teachers with a grant to assist them with the preparation of their classrooms. Weighing in on the issue, the Labour Minister Joe Hamilton said because the Education Ministry and the GTU are still in talks, the conditions for conciliation and arbitration have not been met, and as such, the strike by teachers is illegal.
The thing is that the fact that you still have an ongoing conversation between the two parties, there is no need for the Chief Labor Officer to get involved to conciliate. There is nothing to conciliate because there is a conversation and the partner is getting outcomes out of the conversation.
Minister Hamilton said notwithstanding that, the union dispatched a letter to the Labour Ministry demanding arbitration when the conditions for both have not been met. He said it is against that background that the Labour Ministry is holding firm to its position that the ongoing strike is illegal. The GTU has indicated that the strike action will continue. Well, the President and the General Secretary of the Guyana Teachers Union lashed out at the Ministry of Education today over its threats to cut the salaries of teachers who are on the picket line and to discontinue the deduction of union dues from the salaries of those teachers. The nationwide strike by teachers entered its second day today, with thousands of teachers staying away from their classrooms across the country. At a picketing outside the Ministry of Education's Brigham office, GTU General Secretary Coretta MacDonald told scores of teachers and supporters that the actions and threats of the government are reflective of a wicked and dictatorial administration.
And this is no threat. This is what we're saying. We will close all of the schools across this country because this is high-class wickedness. If you're not oppressors, then you will give us what we want. But the PPP government is a bunch of oppressors. They always feel that they can trample on the rights of people.
As we reported earlier, the government in a correspondence to the union today indicated that it will no longer perform the task of being an agent for the collection of union dues, which are then remitted to the GTU. The GTU General Secretary said the move, which is intended to cripple the operations of the union, would only force the union to find other avenues to collect those fees, including the use of the MMG services. Noting that this is not the first time that the government has taken that type of action, MacDonald said no such actions are taken when sugar workers go on strike. And amid threats by the Education Minister Priya Manik-Chan that teachers on strike will see their salaries being cut over the strike action, which the government sees as illegal, the GTU's General Secretary said the systems will be put in place to cushion that impact.
We know from ever of old, in Guyana, in the Caribbean, all over, as long as workers are on strike, wicked governments would want to deduct the teachers' pay or other workers' pay. And we have had enough time to sit and look at all of these issues because we know the devils we are playing with. So we sat and we organized and we put systems in place because we know as long as our teachers come out here, they will want to cut the teachers' salaries. So systems are in place to deal with our teachers and to compensate them for whatever monies that they're going to lose.
The government has also said that the strike is illegal on the grounds that the union and the Education Ministry are still in talks and the conditions for conciliation and arbitration have not been met. But the GTU General Secretary rubbished that argument.
For the strike to be illegal, it means that we were not doing anything at all. But since we were engaging the Ministry of Education, as well as the Ministry of Labor, as well as the Office of the President, and all the talks failed, we wrote the Ministry of Labor asking for conciliation. They ignored us. We wrote them asking for arbitration. They ignored us. Now you tell me, why would we be writing for these processes to be kicked in if we were still talking?
Meanwhile, GTU President Mark Light in a social media statement this morning said it is clear that the government's latest actions are meant to silence the union and the teachers it represents. He reminded that the strike action is for the betterment of all the teachers all across Guyana. He dismissed the Education Minister's repeated statements that the strike is illegal. Mr. Light said the government simply believes that through its intimidation and threats, it will get its way. And the president of the Guyana Trades Union Congress, Norris Witter, was among those standing in solidarity with the teachers on the picket line today. Mr. Witter told reporters that from the utterances of the Education Minister and the Minister of Labor, it is clear that they are both strangers to basic industrial relations principles and the laws, conventions, charters, and treaties governing industrial relations.
To put it mildly, they appear to be rookies when it comes to the question of industrial relations. And if one were to ask them the question as to what constitutes an illegal strike, unfortunately, the interviewer, the journalist, did not put that question to them. And I'm certain if that question was put, they would have had a difficult time responding to such a simple question.
He said the GTUC will also not sit idly by and allow the government to undermine the teachers' union.
There's a danger whenever the state or whenever representatives of a state characterizes a strike as being either illegal or politically motivated. It is suggesting that there is a devious plan afoot, not only to undermine the union, but to take political action against that union. But I want to say this, let them go ahead. We are going to mobilize the workers from every nook and cranny to deal with this devious, wicked, right, and satanic motive of this regime.
The Education Ministry, while maintaining that the strike is illegal, has said that it has had little impact on the education system. Though reports coming in indicate that hundreds of classrooms remain without teachers across the country, as more teachers have opted to join the strike action.
Look at the breathtaking beauty of the Essequibo, from its pristine rivers to its abundant resources. It's a treasure that belongs to Guyana, and we ask Venezuela to respect the rule of international law.
Our commitment to this land is not just about ownership. It's about preserving its beauty and resources for our people and future generations.
The controversy between Guyana and Venezuela was settled internationally as full, perfect and final in 1899. Essequibo belongs to Guyana.
Acting Chief Justice Roxanne George has dismissed an application which was filed by PNC Reform member Carol Joseph last year, challenging the extension of the Acting Police Commissioner's time in office after he has reached the age of retirement. Joseph, through her attorney Dexter Smart, had argued that only the tenure of a substantive commissioner of police can be extended, and that since Mr. Hicken was acting in the office of Commissioner of Police, the extension granted by the President was unlawful, unconstitutional, and ultra-vires. She contended that having attained the age of 55 years, Mr. Hicken was now a civilian and no longer a member of the Guyana Police Force, and sought an order requiring the court to direct Mr. Hicken to vacate the office of Acting Commissioner of Police. But Attorney General Anil Nandlal rejected those arguments and contended that the term Commissioner of Police referenced in the Constitution contemplates both a substantive and acting appointee. The Attorney General further cited a section of the Constitution which states that a reference to the holder of the office by the term designating his or her office shall be construed as including a reference to any person for the time being lawfully acting in or performing the functions of that office. The Attorney General further argued that no evidence was produced to challenge the President's compliance with the Constitution, and the burden to do so was squarely placed upon the applicant. In dismissing the application, the Acting Chief Justice ruled that the framers of the Constitution envisioned that if there was not a substantive Commissioner of Police, that the statutory provisions that are applicable to a substantive Commissioner would also apply to an Acting Commissioner. Therefore, she ruled that when the Constitution speaks to a Commissioner of Police, it applies to both an acting and substantive appointee. She also rejected arguments that the President needed to consult with the opposition leader on the extension of Mr. Hicken's appointment to act in the position of Police Commissioner. Some tragic news to report now. A section of the John Finance Wharf facility on Water Street here in Georgetown was temporarily shut down this morning when a 64-year-old stevedore foreman lost his life in another workplace accident. The dead man's name has been given as Trevor Jones. He was reportedly walking at a section of the wharf when he was hit down and crushed by a container stacker that was being operated nearby. Reports from eyewitnesses stated that the container reach stacker was being reversed at the time when it hit down Jones and crushed his body. Frantic persons and co-workers reportedly shouted and raised an alarm to get the attention of the operator just after Jones had been hit down, but he kept reversing and crushing the man in the process. Jones died instantly. His family members were contacted and they rushed down to the site, but were prevented from going close to the scene. A full investigation has been launched by the John Finance Company as well as by the Labor Department and the Guyana Police Force. Friends of the accident victim described him as a decent and respectful man who worked for several years at the wharf facility. And the 67-year-old excavator operator lost his life at a mining pit in the village of Dora along the Linden-Suzdijk Highway when he got pinned by the bucket and track of an excavator yesterday. The dead man has been identified as Lennox McPherson. He is from Wismar, Linden. He worked with the Guyana Shield Resources Company, which is involved in sand mining in that Dora area. A report of the incident stated that around 11:30 yesterday morning at the mining pit, operator McPherson had just finished talking to another excavator operator when that operator thought he had left the scene. The operator said he did not notice the man still in the area close to the bucket of the machinery when he started to operate it again. McPherson was pinned by the bucket and the track of that excavator, resulting in an alarm being raised. He was crushed in the region of his groin and pelvis and also lost a finger as efforts were made to get him released from the spike tips of the excavator's bucket. The man was eventually released from between the two pieces of the large equipment as medical help was summoned, but he was pronounced dead. The Ministry of Labor has since launched a full investigation into the incident. The Guyana Police Force and the company itself are both investigating also.
imported frozen meat and food products, fresh produce, and pet supplies, freshly made bread. Rotisserie chicken and patties are also available daily. Shop in comfort today at Food Max and let our courteous staff assist you in satisfying your shopping needs. Food Max, the fresh food specialist.
It's one of your biggest goals, getting your own home, where memories are made, where happiness lives. You may feel that home ownership or renovation is beyond your reach, but we at Republic want you to know that there's always a way. Ask us about our suite of mortgages. Let's help make your housing wishes come true, or advise on how the equity in your existing home can finance other dreams and goals. Call or go online to learn more.
Look who's in the mix now. The new Buster Soda Water. 0 calories, 0 sugar, 0 artificial flavors. 100% refreshing. Taste Buster Soda Water today. Buster Soda Water. Now available for only $120.
With your regional and international news tonight, I'm Svetlana Marshall. In the region, Colombia's government and the National Liberation Army (ELN) rebels have extended their bilateral ceasefire for another 6 months, starting Tuesday, the same day they announced the creation of a fund backed by multiple donors to finance the process. An initial 6-month ceasefire expired last week and was then extended by 5 days. President Gustavo Petro's government restarted peace talks with the ELN in 2022 as part of a policy of total peace to end the South American country's 6-decade conflict in which more than 450,000 people have been killed. So far, Petro's government has held 6 rounds of peace talks with the ELN, a process supported by Mexico, Norway, Venezuela, Cuba, Brazil, and Chile, which are participating as guarantor countries. A cold front is expected to cause wet weather across the northeastern Caribbean on Wednesday and Thursday in the Leeward Islands and the British Virgin Islands. This is according to a hydrologic outlook issued by the Antigua and Barbuda Met Services on Tuesday. It says there is the potential 10% chance for rainfall totals across the area to exceed 100 mm or 4 inches in 24 hours during the forecast event. The report says more model survey indicate more than 50 mm. 2 inches of rainfall is likely. Flash flooding may occur in flash flood prone areas because of the heavy rainfall rates and duration of precipitation. However, given the uncertainty in the extent to which the front will develop and other atmospheric conditions, it is not possible to predict the exact magnitude of the flooding at this time. And finally tonight, international news. Donald Trump does not have presidential immunity and can be prosecuted on charges of plotting to overturn the 2020 election, a U.S. court has ruled. In a report, the BBC said Mr. Trump had claimed in the landmark legal case that he was immune from criminal charges for acts he said fell within his duties as president. But Tuesday's unanimous ruling in Washington, D.C. struck down that claim. It is a setback for Mr. Trump, who has for years cited presidential immunity while battling multiple cases. In a statement shortly after the ruling, Trump campaign spokesman Stephen Chiang said the former president respectfully disagrees with the D.C. Circuit's decision and will appeal it. If an appeal is filed, the case could ultimately go to the Supreme Court, where conservatives hold a 6-3 majority. Mr. Trump has until February 12 to do so. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Svetlana Marshall reporting and encouraging you to stay safe.